Hey guys, we are live back to episode 41 of the weekly, and thank you for joining us. With me here is Mr. Juan Bagnell from Pocket Now and Some Gadget Guy. How's it going, man?
It's going pretty good, man. Apologies for the crappy lighting. We're in the middle of a move, and I haven't moved over any panels or anything yet. So you're gonna get sort of the dark, ghosty shadow of Gadget Guy for this podcast.
Yes, yes, but when's the move done? Hopefully this weekend, right?
Oh, we got all the big stuff today, so hopefully we can wrap it up over the next couple days. Apparently, moving with a kid is really tough.
Yeah, think. Moving on my own was tough in the first. All right, guys, let's get to some news this week. This week, not a lot of news. As you noticed, there's election, so that kind of threw a lot of things out of funk. So we will be having a Q&A, so go ahead. I should have actually done a Twitter handle, but leave your questions in the comment section. God, sorry. So not comment section. You can leave in the comment section if you're watching later, but you can also leave your questions in the chat, and we'll basically try and answer them for you. But let's start off with the uselessness of this week. Nintendo. So this week we had two launches of consoles, the PS4 Pro, which we'll talk about after this. But Nintendo launched the NES Mini or the NES Retro, or whatever you want to call it. You know, it's $60, and it's supposed to be this mini size NES that you can plug in and play, and it will be all sorts of fun. 30 games included, things like Castlevania, the original one, Mario, no Duck Hunts because there's no Zappa, and like a whole bunch of games in there. Now, the reason why it's in the uselessness is because you can't buy it. And right now, right now it's going for like $400 in eBay and stuff like that. So to me, the thing that baffles me is the Nintendo had no console this holiday period.
Yeah.
They announced these NES Mini, and everybody was like, "This is so great! It's $60, fantastic! Like I could buy this as almost like a giant stocking stuffer if I wanted to. I could just buy it anyway because I just want to buy it. You know, it's so easy to buy in terms of price range,
Right.
and they don't have enough. I mean, why? Please, Juan, help me out because I don't get it.
Well, and the notion is baffling. So it's almost like Nintendo is trying to recreate that holiday season where no one could buy the Wii.
Yeah.
And that was a little different, you know, whatever manufacturing they went through with the Wii. I think a lot of this is still the old school game that Apple plays too, where we have a limited supply, get them while they're hot. You know, a few friends on your street have one, and they're really excited about it. Don't you want to be like them? That works for something like the Wii. Where this doesn't work is on software that you can easily run from a phone, a tablet. You know, my wife wants one of these. She's a hardcore Mario gal, but she's also been playing Mario on emulators. I think she just wants to get back to the original controller, and so it's almost making more sense for me to just go get a Nintendo controller and hook it up to something else, and then
we have like a laptop, and then just call it a day.
And we'd have every single Nintendo game, not just the ones that are pre-installed on this console. And I think that's also what's so frustrating is the computational power. The components needed to run every single Nintendo title. That's not a challenge.
That's like an old DS,
right?
Board in there.
And it shouldn't even need to be that powerful to achieve everything that they're trying to do.
No, I definitely agree, because to me, I don't know what the manufacturing issue is here, because it's very simple. Like I said, you can get an old DS board, which they have a lot of those. Let's just say they're taking that, forget like producing anything else, and then installing enough memory so you can just access the 30 games, and you're done. And then you just have a plastic shell that looks like an NES, and boom. I mean, you can sell. I mean, by now they should have sold at least 4 million units of this thing. But right now, who knows?
Well, and I was just looking back. I've got every single Nintendo and Super Nintendo game on a flash drive, and it's not taking up a fraction of the storage space. So I mean, Nintendo could even do something kind of cool where maybe as they're getting the licensing for other titles from developers that actually made the games,
Yeah.
that they could then add that to this console in some way in the future. That would be kind of like a cool goodwill gesture, but it's not something I think they're apt to do. It's just really frustrating because we're literally talking about the manufacturing of the plastic shell that looks like the NES, as all of the equipment to actually put inside the plastic shell is
already made,
readily available. I mean, it's not difficult to get. So if they're going to play this, you know, it's so popular, it's sold out, everybody wants this thing, this game, it's going to turn off a lot of us Nintendo geeks. It's going to piss off a lot of us who would have been their core evangelist group. Whether or not that really affects sales, I think this will still sell really hot through the holidays just for that nostalgia factor. But it's another move in Nintendo's recent, you know, sort of corporate strategy that is frustrating, to say the least.
Warren, thanks for joining, and of course, right on time. Let us know what you think about the NES drop, if you will.
It's another fail by Nintendo. I mean, I really don't understand how hard it is to get plastic molded flash drives with a HDMI port and a controller port out of it. I don't even know why the hell they have a controller port. They could just Wi-Fi the damn. They can just be wireless. It doesn't cost that much to do this. This damn thing is a Raspberry Pi in a box, and for some reason they cannot get this out here. Why? Why is there limited qualities? Why are you making this fake shortage? There's no reason for you to do this. And at the point when you log into Amazon, which everybody got emailed and said, hey, come to Amazon at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we'll have it available in limited quantities. And beyond the fact that no one could get in there and get the damn thing, it's just amazing. Limited qualities, and they're trying to create this sort of buzz around it. And it's almost like they're trying to redo the Wii thing over again for like the third damn time. The difference between the Wii is that they didn't expect that to happen. This one, they were trying to force it to happen, and it's just going to backfire in their face. Because if these things aren't available or some type of message out there about inventory by the end of next week, people are going to forget about this and move on.
I definitely agree, and I think also. Shit, I just lost my train of thought on like my brain just went, this is useless. Sorry. Oh my God. There's something I was going to say. I thought that it was important. You know what? Never mind. Forget it. Nintendo literally is just playing a useless game here. And it's sad to see because, you know, yes, it was about the reviews. People have been so angry on Amazon.
Oh my God.
That it's 1.5 star now. And this has nothing to do with the product.
2,758 reviews as of now. Let me refresh it again. 2,761 as of now. Let me refresh this again. Thank you.
Yeah, it is a 1.5 star.
1.5 stars.
2,748.
Some people took it off. Yeah. But it's just hilarious how people have just gotten mad. And this isn't even about the system. This is about this release.
Yeah.
Just aggravated people.
Yeah, it is sad that Nintendo's kind of put themselves in this position, but I mean, you know, hopefully they learn soon, but hey.
Nothing new for them.
Yeah, it is nothing new. All right, let's move on to the first topic of the day. And as I said, this is a Q&A, so leave questions in the chat as well as comment section of the video. We'll try and answer them for you. PlayStation announced the PS4 Pro. Sorry, they released the PS4 Pro on the 10th. Retails for $399, comes with a terabyte of storage. I know Juan has not jumped into it yet because we know that aspect quite well, but maybe he might jump with these set of consoles as they come forward. I know Warren has because you've done an unboxing and setup. But the PS4 Pro, I want to get your thoughts, kind of like your summarized thoughts on what you've seen with the console, and then you, Juan, I want to know what your general perception is, just kind of from just the news you've heard, either be from us or anyone else, and maybe this might make you go to get a PS4 Pro or not, because I mean right. You still have a PS3, so just wondering where your thoughts are.
Keep throwing me under that bus. That's fine.
No. I mean, I don't want to just give you a question you can't answer.
Fair enough.
In that sense, Warren, go ahead.
So far it's a PS4, and apparently it's some type of Pro. We don't know until the games that are going to be designed for this sort of come out there. You're getting these games that are getting remastered, so to speak. But it'll be more interesting when we get the new games to come for the console that has the ability for 4K in mind. And granted, this isn't going to be native 4K, but at least maybe something that it gets to. I've heard us up to an 1800p level. God, I have to wait to see the frame rate on that if that thing can pull it off. But it at least will hopefully guarantee that damn near every new game that comes on this thing is a 1080p 60 game. I think that would at least be nice for them to guarantee that. The system itself, it's pretty much the same. The hardware is just like another little layer above. Makes me wonder if they come up with a PS4, Pro Neo Ultra, how that's going to look like. I thought they could have got a little bit more creative with that. I think they got stingy on the hard drive. Should be 2 terabytes, I think, by default. I know the Xbox one was supposed to be sort of a special edition with that 2 terabytes, but I heard they pretty much still made that available because it's selling like hotcakes. So I would hope Sony would have just done this. They both do a bunch of stupidness together. Sometimes it's hard to get summer, but it would have been nice to see them have added that. I'm still no Ultra Blu-ray drive. I might not be a person that buys a lot of physical media. I really don't buy any pretty much at all. I kind of stopped before the whole Blu-ray thing even came around, but it's still a disappointment that that's not included in something of these devices that sort of gear themselves as expensive media devices that can be a centerpiece for your home theater. I mean, if you can get more value out of it, especially like if you get a $400 or $500 Blu-ray player or Blu-ray player out there, but you have this other thing that's a console that can get the same applications, can get the same systems and services, but they can also do some gaming at the same time and even extend further, such as PlayStation TV with the PlayStation. What is PlayStation View with the
VR?
VR TV and VR, the add-ons that you can add for the PlayStation Pro or PlayStation 4 in general, and then you have the Xbox One with its ability to do 4K, same thing like that, but it can stream Ultra HD Blu-ray playing. You can pass through a TV. So it's kind of disappointing that they didn't go the full mile. And it seems to me that once again, fanboys are kind of getting into the narrative here, and they're kind of trying to make the excuse for Sony to not put it in because nobody buys physical media, which is a bunch of baloney because people still do, or they wouldn't be making it anymore. So, I mean, it might not be the droves that they bought it before, but some people do like to get certain pieces of content in its highest quality possible. People probably a little more picky versus I want to stream. I might just, the average customer, I don't mind streaming Batman versus Superman. While some other people might have really liked the movie and they want to get the best quality possible for it because they have a home theater system and they want that experience every time they watch the film. So I think there's some disappointment there with that, and it's their Sony's 4K setup is, in terms of getting HDR and all this stuff, is pretty interesting, to say the least. I couldn't really fully do it because I kind of found out some things about that, but I know you had some issues with that.
Yeah, mine was a little bit of LG's issue. I'll talk about that.
But the say the least, it's just like, it's one of those things. It's like the original consoles. These are cool now, but you gotta wait down the road to see if things pan itself out to be the better buy.
Okay, Juan.
Yeah. So first of all, I just have an issue with the name. Like, can you have a professional game console? Is that really what we're gonna call the plus version, the better version? Like, I don't know why that really bothers me.
You know what? It's funny you mentioned that, because the one thing about the Pro is that when you turn it on, it just feels like a PS4.
It literally does.
So like there's no even proness in the software in the sense where you just kind of feel like, ooh, this is new, that kind of thing. It's just
like what they needed is like the standard PS4 like opening splash, that sort of boot up screen, and then Pro.
Exactly.
Like it would have been something like they would have done in the 90s for like a TurboGrafx 16 or something like that.
And then you feel like you have Pro, and then the software is still the same.
So here's the deal. I still find it troubling. I still find it bothersome that in this day and age, as more consumers will be stepping up to 4K TVs because the pricing is just too stupid low not to make the jump from HD to UHD for the people who have some means or are looking to replace a nice TV, that we're still having conversations about consoles where we can't completely guarantee 1080p at 60 frames per second. So that to me is a minimum where my laptop is easily able to handle 1080p gaming. I need to know that my expensive under the TV box is going to do likewise. So I can't jump on a modern console until I at least have that. And I'll still be kind of cranky because we're looking at moving up to a 4K TV for our main TV soon. These two generations of game consoles falling behind what the sort of consumer entertainment zeitgeist is. I want to stream 4K content more readily. I mean, I've been doing it to my computer monitors, but I'd like to be able to do that to my TV as well. I've been gaming at higher and higher resolutions on my PC and on my laptop, and now my game console won't even have a Blu-ray media player built into it. As a quick side tangent, that's just the funniest aspect of all of this is Sony walking away from that physical media standard that they themselves helped wreck. That if we had been able to agree on an HD DVD Blu-ray standard way back in the day, I think physical media would still be a lot more popular. Obviously, streaming still would have came in and stomped on it, but we would have seen a much better infrastructure. But we had to have a format war. And every time we have a format war, someone else comes in and wrecks it. You can look at the fight that's going on with the future of texting. Like Google has a standard, Verizon has a standard for messaging, and wouldn't you know it?
Facebook will come wreck it.
Well, that's just it. It was like WhatsApp and Facebook are absolutely wrecking messaging for them. And by the time they agree on a standard, we're going to be using something completely different, and no one's going to go back to that because it wasn't really a standard because no one adopted it. See also mobile payment solutions, the fight that Android went through with Google Wallet and ISIS. It was Google Wallet fighting ISIS. And what happened? Apple Pay came in, Samsung Pay came in, and we see, an explosion in payment services when we all could have been working from a consistent standard instead of having a different payment system for each ecosystem or even each phone if you're on Android. So,
Kyle Ruggles says, I had to throw this in there. Laserdisc for the win. I hear you, bro.
Dude.
I hear you, bro.
And it's just so bold because you pick up like an album of a movie.
You're like this.
Gingerly place it carefully onto a giant tray. That's the grandioseness of a cinema experience that should be we shouldn't go back to Laserdisc. But so I'm sorry, getting back to PlayStation and Xbox. It's really going to come down to content, and if they've got content which takes advantage of more powerful hardware and with Sony's PlayStation solution, PlayStation VR, then I think they'll continue building some traction this holiday season. But I don't know that a few game remasters are really going to be enough to justify a slightly more powerful console. I really feel Sony's lead to lose here is not getting developers on board PlayStation VR. If they have the best opportunity to reaching general consumers with virtual reality in a way that Oculus and Vive are a little too high end for a lot of consumers, Sony has this amazing opportunity, and I'm kind of worried they're going to squander it, that they're going to slow play it, that they're going to play the wait and see game. And I think that'll be a real shame.
I definitely agree with you. I think, especially on that VR aspect, is the way the VR launched, the wait and see game, the way that whole process is like there's really no excitement for it. When it comes to the PlayStation 4 Pro, and somebody asked a question, which is better, PlayStation 4 Pro or Xbox One S? Two different set of consoles, but also two different philosophies that I think, to some degree, I applaud Microsoft for understanding that they don't have the power yet this time to run a 4K console the way we want that 4K console to run. And Sony, on the other hand, has this interesting mixed bag. So certain games, they are two games that run native of 4K. One of them is NBA 17. Then again, we know how the graphics on those things are. So I'm not surprised. Like Warren said earlier, a lot of games are kind of that upscaled, or they run at 1800 and they upscale to 4K. I will say though, like I'm playing Uncharted on there, and right now Uncharted looks like a dream. Uncharted is a game that I will tell anyone, if you have a PS4 Pro, definitely play that on a 4K TV, because Uncharted is developed like a movie. So it's almost like you're playing a movie, you know, within the game, and it really helps highlight the system. But you know, like we mentioned earlier, you have the situation where it doesn't feel like a Pro when you turn it on. I mean, I just wanted something extra. That's just me in terms of feeling like I got a Pro, but it feels like, you know, PlayStation 4 update 4.05, which you can get on any of the PlayStation SKUs. The other aspect too, like to Warren's point, is, you know, setting up 4K and things like that. One thing Microsoft, I think, has learned, when I'm just not trying to compare the Xbox One S, but just highlighting, is the Xbox One S, when you're turning it on and setting it up, it goes through the 4K process. It tells you 4K TV, do you want HDR on, do you want it off, and set it. You can change it here. Done. PlayStation doesn't do that. So you have to go find it. And then I had some issues with my LG TV, because LG has this foolishness of, for you to enjoy HDR through the ports, you have to go turn it on, not automatic. I don't know why that it does that, but it's just
I don't know. I think that's going to be the hot new feature for consumer electronics this year, are full manual toggle switches for every setting you need.
Yes. So that's the thing with it. And, you know, I don't know, the Pro definitely needs its own games. I think Heaven Something Sword, I can't remember the game, is coming out in February. That is the first game that will fully be not 4K native, but at least built for the system in that regard.
Okay, so I wanted to throw that question out to you guys too, because I'm really interested by what you just said, that the Pro will need its own games. Do you think that would be a winning strategy to get people to move up to a Pro with the brief window that we've been playing on the PS4, or do you think that's just going to piss people off? I think it's just going to piss people off if they invested in a PlayStation 4, especially closer to launch, and then games start coming out already which are not compatible with their system.
So that's the thing.
Well, the thing is, they have to be compatible.
They have to be compatible. So Sony is forcing every developer. So for instance, Uncharted, once I went to Sam's place, grabbed his copy of Uncharted, and I put it in, and there was an 8 GB update. And that update is for the Pro. So you can actually play with higher graphical specs and more assets and all that fun stuff. So that's what Sony is doing. So it doesn't matter what game you buy. It's just that things like Uncharted are basically upscale specs, rather than the newer games where you now have full set assets that I say, okay, this is 4K, this is 1080p, or this is our upscale 4K, whatever they want to call it. So Sony's keeping it that, look, every game must be able to be played from the original PlayStation 4 to the PlayStation 4 Pro. So that's what they're going with, which I think a lot of people, you know, original PlayStation 4 owners will like that, because then you can pick up a Pro and not feel like you have to, you know, buy a new game or do anything else. But to Warren's point, it should be 2 terabytes of storage, because when I'm seeing an 8 GB update just to play Uncharted on Pro, now granted I have it on disc, but if I was actually downloading all my games, that's a 40 GB game right there. And if I bought a bunch of games from launch, then I'm looking at 40 plus minimum of 8 GB per game that I bought from Sony. So, you know, it's one of those things. I mean, it's the good things that you can swap out your hard drive, and we have videos to show you guys how to do that. It's not that hard of a process on there. But to me, I think this launch kind of highlights how Microsoft has finally learned and is slowly leapfrogging them in terms of sales. We'll see how it does this month with the Pro out. But the other thing I've heard from people in the entertainment side is that once the Xbox One S released, sales of 4K Blu-rays jumped because people now had something that was more accessible and cheaper in price. Remember, the cheapest and probably the only 4K Blu-ray player was the Samsung one. So the Xbox One S came out. People are like, yeah, I'll pick up that, BVS. I'll pick up that X-Men. I'll pick up, Disney doesn't have anything on 4K Blu-ray yet because they haven't decided what they want to do, but I'll pick it up and play. So Sony's leaving money on the table there with that. I think, it's one of those things, like you said, Juan, is they should have easily just thrown it in there since it's technically half of the format is yours. You're the one who pushed that format. There was no tomorrow. So I don't see why Sony didn't do it, but stay tuned for our reviews. It doesn't sound like it's not a downer. I enjoyed it. Stay tuned for it. It's just, I think the reason is because back of my head, I'm thinking Scorpio is coming out next year and Microsoft can easily drop a mini PC and just be done.
And they're also going to make sure that when you buy that console, it is definitely distinctively different than from what you have on the Xbox One S. They'll make sure that it's just like when you buy an Xbox controller and then you go buy the Xbox Elite controller. There's a difference between the two of them. They feel different, they look different, and it gives you something of a feel. It's still an Xbox controller, but it holds that Elite name and it gives you the feeling like you're getting something a little bit better. Sony's just didn't do that here, and I think with Project Scorpio, whatever they're going to call their Xbox, I think they'll avoid the name Pro. I wouldn't be surprised if they just called the thing an Elite console, whatever they say with it. But I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. And when you get that, you get that different feeling.
Yeah, I think Microsoft handled that phenomenally well because the Xbox controller is really nice. The standard one, it's a really nice controller. I like the feel of it in my hand. I like that it's well balanced. You don't feel like you're being punished just because they also offer a much higher quality controller on the side there. I think that was a really smart way for them to start dividing between sort of a standard tier and a more premium tier product. And if they can do the same thing, to Warren's point, exactly. If they can do the same thing with a console where it doesn't feel like they just held stuff back from the standard console, but if you spend more money, you get some really nice benefits or some really nice perks for whatever this next console is going to really be, then I think Microsoft will have the winning strategy. I think they'll be able to flip the script on the sort of PlayStation versus Xbox war.
Yeah, definitely.
I think what's interesting is that to kind of sum it up, I think it's like Sony's strategy towards this PS4 Pro reminds me of their strategy towards smartphones. It's like they have all these different ones, but you sure as hell can't tell the difference between which one is better than the other. And Microsoft, of all things, is actually following more of not their own phone strategy, because that would be a terrible idea. But they would they're almost following the Samsung idea of things, of just giving you those different levels of something. Things look the same, but you get a little bit more when you spend a little bit more and you go from this, Galaxy Ace phone to this Galaxy S phone.
Kyle Ruggles in the chat writing Atari Jaguar controller for the win.
Oh my God,
that was a terrible controller. I'm sorry, Kyle. I really hope you were being funny. I can't tell what emoticon you were using there. I think it was the tongue sticking out.
Yeah, it is.
From Imagine Zagi, do you think PlayStation will start to be a family entertainment console like the Xbox did?
I don't think so.
Straight say no. They don't have the plan for it. They got the content. They sure hell got the services, but they're all about the gamers. They don't want to lose that thing. They don't want to be Microsoft, who got crapped on for giving extra value to the consoles. Go see the Hangout from like 3 months ago. I went a rant about that, and a lofty rant about how stupid that is. That gamers are that pissed off about it.
No, I think Microsoft has set themselves as the entertainment, especially the fact that they threw in the 4K Blu-ray in there. Is to say, hey, look, we are making sure that we cover you on all the different aspects on there, and even to the point that, they've done such a good job that the Xbox One S is 4K, they just say, I forget how they term it. They do say 4K upscaling quickly, but a lot of people ask me that question. The Xbox One S is a 4K console. I'm like, no, it just upscales every single game you play to 4K. So they've now taken something that's less and put it on the same level as the Pro, marketing-wise, for people's mindset to go, oh, it's a 4K console, and it does 4K Blu-rays, and it streams 4K, so it must be 4K. And Sony now has to decide back and forth. We don't have 4K Blu-ray, but we do have 4K content. But not everything is really 4K. Some things are upscale, like confusing argument there. So anyway, we'll see how it does. We'll see how sales do, and then how people actually take to the console come Black Friday. I think that's the first indicator, and then January will be the next for major sales. This week on, was it Thursday or Friday? HTC launched the Bolt on Sprint. It is. I would just show you the phone here, guys. This is the Bolt. There we go. Yes, we all have our bolts out, and it's got a fingerprint.
They decided not to invite me into some things.
Yeah, it's a fingerprint sensor in the front here. We don't have a review yet, and it doesn't have a headphone jack. So HTC had an event where I was able to go and talk to some of their people about, this is my main gripe. Once I saw this, I almost didn't want to pick up the phone. I was just like, ah! But, you know what, Juan, any thoughts? You go ahead.
Okay, so you guys are getting sort of a sneak peek at what we're going to be doing for our real audio review on Pocket now. This is not how I want the USB-C transition to go for audio products. You don't get an adapter in the box. You do get a pretty nice pair of earbuds, but those earbuds don't seem to be compatible with any other USB-C product. I've only, like I said, we're in the middle of a move, so I haven't really been able to dig in super deep on the audio yet. But I don't want this locked, like the adapter on the Moto Z only works on the Moto Z. The headphones from the HTC Bolt only work on the HTC Bolt. This is exactly the wrong way to go about shifting us over to what should be a standard. So if you're going to build the DAC into your audio accessory, then that needs to work across all devices. If you're just using the pinout on USB-C to transfer an audio signal and that the DAC is still built into the device, we need to make that a standard so that it works across all products. And that's exactly like we were talking about before. If we have another format war over audio, then Bluetooth is going to win. And if Bluetooth wins, that's not necessarily the best for people who are looking for higher quality or a premium listening experience. Bluetooth is good. It's very convenient. But when we're talking about lossless audio, transferring the highest possible quality signal, Bluetooth 5 will be a step in the right direction, but it still won't be as consistent or perform as well as a dedicated cable. Not in this day and age. Maybe Bluetooth 12, and we'll all be laughing at those days when we were using cables and wires, but it's not there yet. This is just such an odd collection of components for the phone in general. It's largely a similar profile to a Pixel XL. In terms of shape and size, you have a little bit less wasted space on the front thanks to actually moving hardware controls down on the chin bezel. But I don't understand, unless it was something like where Sprint's network brought certain capabilities or certain restrictions, I do not understand walking a phone back to the Qualcomm 810 at the end of 2016, especially for a $600 phone. I feel that for people who know about this stuff, that's going to be a deal breaker right there. The phone runs warm. The 810 has always been a hot processor. Performance is better than the 1M9, but that's not saying much. I feel like the headphone jack, the Qualcomm 810, that's going to be some tough stuff to get over. And that the fact that this doesn't seem to use any kind of boom sound split speaker solution. I was really hoping that they would import the dual speakers from the HTC 10, and those aren't on board either. So all of the things that I love about HTC seem to be gone. on this phone. The only thing I have left is it really is a beautifully manufactured phone. It's a very pretty phone. I really do like HTC's design implementation over what Google did with the Pixel. But that's not enough for me to say like this is a phone for a specific audience. I don't know who this phone is for.
This phone is what this phone is that throwaway phone that Sprint wanted to have for the holiday period. You know, you go, I need an extra phone. Oh, okay, cool. This looks nice. Done. The problem, like you said, is what's in there and also the price. It's $600 to me makes no sense for.
Well, and Sprint's making the big play that this is going to be using their new, what is it? I forget what it's called. The aggregation service where it's piggybacking multiple LTE connections to like, you know, really make your data speeds faster. So from Sprint's perspective, I think this is actually going to be an important phone in their lineup for the holiday season, that it'll probably have some branding in Sprint stores that's easily seen by consumers. But outside of that, I don't know how this phone fits into any kind of strategy. And if with the HTC logo on it, I think it's going to do more damage to HTC's reputation than to Sprint's. Sprint will be able to say like, well, I mean, we put this kind of radio management stuff on there so you could get these wicked fast LTE downloads. So we did our part. If the rest of the phone isn't performing well, that's an HTC problem.
Yeah, and that's the thing though. It's one of those things where I would love to know how the discussion went between Sprint and HTC. Did the HTC say, "Hey, here's the stuff we want to make for the Bolt for you. It's like a Pixel, you know, but it's just really a Bolt, and we need a Pixel." If they did that, then I can say, okay, that actually, you know, in design they've kind of done that in a way. But when you look at the guts and you look at how everything else is presented, you're like, why do you do this? Like, you know. So I don't know where they had a misstep in conversation and just lost their thinking process here for this device. To me, it just feels very flat. I'll honestly tell you this. This is me. I had the phone. The embargo was up. I still haven't done my finished my Huawei Mate 9 review, and I was like, I would just rather finish the Mate 9 review. That's just my first impression. There's nothing wrong with the device. I don't hate it. I just don't feel any connection to it. Not like I need to be connected to the devices I review, but just saying that
you like to wine and dine them, you know, have like a candlelit evening, you know, some Chianti.
Yes. You know, that kind of stuff. Any thoughts to this, Warren, before we round up the bolts?
Not much, considering I don't have one yet. So it's there. It's a thing.
Okay, let's talk about. We all have our LePros, right?
Yes, we have what?
I do have the LePro 3.
LePro 3.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
I don't know.
Not handy.
Not handy. So let's talk about that a little bit. Like just initial thoughts on what it is. I can start off if you guys are ready, but I kind of like where they're going, mindset wise, because of where the company started in terms of is LeEco, right? Not LeEco.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just make it.
I think it's supposed to be pronounced LeEco, but everybody's pronouncing, including me, as LeEco.
Yeah. So they really pushed entertainment, and where you usually have your Google Now button. That is like their Live, whatever it's called, and it just takes you to this hub of entertainment. LeTV, and talking to the reps and looking at, they say, look, there's going to be more US centric entertainment stuff coming, but their mindset was, starting off in China, was basically everyone's pirating stuff. Let's find a way to put it into one hub where they can get it, and you charge them a set amount. And they actually got people to actually buy in, which is what we've always talked about with everything. Not everybody wants to necessarily pirate, but if you give them an easy option, like just hitting a button to say, here's my entertainment, that is. And I mean, I like the device. I like what I see from it. I hope they can continue. They have a roadmap for, to Juan's point, 2-3 years, you need to spend that time to push into a market and develop stuff. But what do you guys think?
No, I mean, I think they're absolutely on the right track. I think some of their marketing strategy is a little weird. Like the press conference that we got the Le Pro 3
Yeah.
was more of like an investor pitch than it was a consumer pitch,
Yeah.
right? You know, talking about like distribution deals and back end supply management, stuff like that. If you'd been watching the live stream, I think you probably would have tuned out anywhere near before they actually got to talking about the phone. But in terms of building a brand, I think like Huawei, I think Huawei is one of the Chinese companies that's doing the best job of sort of staging and rolling out over time. Look at like how well Honor has been doing as a side brand for Huawei. And again, it started out with very reasonable expectations and then building some word of mouth and building a fan base and then leveraging that fan base to communicate to new potential customers. And I think LeEco is on the right track for doing similar work. The only scary part of this is getting all into LeEco. And recently, wasn't there a story that they're burning through funds right now that their business is like not sustainable or something like that? So those are definitely some concerns. But all in all, and I wish I could hold it up because I really do like the device. Jaime is actually going to be tackling the full review just because I've been a little swamped. But it's a phone that I wish I were wrapping up the review on. Again, another headphone jackless phone, but pretty impressed with just how incredible that bang for buck is.
Yeah. What's the price for the Pro? I can't remember.
400.
Well, it's 400, and then
if you do the Lee rewards, it's 300.
That's just it. It's like they have these windows where it becomes a $300 phone, and a $300 phone that handily competes with all of the whatever the people want to call them. I'm still going to call them mid-rangers because they're sort of in the middle pack for price. And you can't call it a mid-ranger because it's got a Qualcomm 820. And you're like, no, watch, it's a mid-ranger. I just did it. But
anything with a 1080p display is.
But any of these sort of $400 premium mid-rangers.
No. Mind you, not an 820, bro. Not an 820.
821. That's right. That's what I'm talking about, son.
4 cores at 2.35 gigahertz.
And with all of that, I'll still take a Kirin 960. Bam! Boom! He did it! Bam! Oh! Boom! Okay. I mean, the multi-core benchmarking scores on the Kirin 960 are absolutely insane. So I know I'm losing about 15% for that GPU in terms of graphics performance, but the phone plays Marvel Future Fight just fine for me, so I'll stick with it. Anyway, sorry, getting back to all that, just to wrap up. When we start seeing more of these budget-busting Chinese premium mid-rangers, this is going to put a serious hurt. Because we're down to a very scant few lifestyle features that people are going to care about to justify spending $600, $700, $800 on a phone. It used to be, well, you needed to spend a lot for storage. That's not true anymore. It used to be you needed to spend a lot for a nice screen, even if it's not the best screen, just a nice screen. That's not true anymore. And we're getting to that point where we're also starting to tear down other features too. And I think, what are we left with? We're left with like water resistance. And that's cool. That is definitely a feature that I think a lot of people like to know is on their phone. But what else do you do to bring to the table if we can't talk about other improvements in other areas?
Yeah. Warren?
Yeah, that's what Juan said. It's pretty what what LeEco, like whatever the hell names are doing.
Le Pro 3.
Le Pro 3. We need to discuss that damn name. I think because they were originally late TV. I remember I covered them at CES. One of the first to put out an 820 processor on a phone. It was actually a pretty decent phone. It was pretty interesting. They were in a little small booth in a little, the audio section over there and kind of North Hallish. He was just over there. I think they'll be a little bit different this CES, but and I don't understand. Like, I think they call themselves Elite. I think it was LeEco when they were saying it in the press conference, if I remember correctly, right?
Man, whatever you want to call it, with Leo, it's LeEco. All I know is
I like calling it LeEco.
I like LeEco.
Yeah.
Because I think it's just they're turning into the same thing that happened. Remember with Asus, this happened with their name, and then they eventually just when he made their U.S. push to change their name to what it was supposed to sound like. Like they said, well, everyone's pronouncing like this, so we'll just make it sound like this. And they just changed it to that. It's like even technically Samsung, we don't technically pronounce that right here in America either. So, but I think beyond the name, I think the phone's an interesting buy. I think they're an interesting company, sort of what this ecosystem they're trying to go out about, and that's how they're presenting. And most of the time, most companies present just one device and just kind of try to build off from that one or two devices. They're announcing TVs and bikes and phones and cars and all this sort of groups of different things. And hopefully they'll be able to kind of pull through with that, because it'd be interesting to see if they do this sort of, hey, we're this brand and we have everything that you could imagine. Like you come right in, and if you want to just buy up our brand and have your whole system work with an ecosystem, boom, it's right there for you. And if they have that, that'd be pretty interesting to see what other companies going forward would do in terms of a reaction to that.
I think in general, that push with trying to create that ecosystem, and the ecosystem is not around the hardware, it's really around LeTV and pushing that from point to point. They have, so the one thing I learned from them on Wednesdays, they have fire sales every Wednesday. They have discounts on their devices, especially TV. So their LeTV or their LeEco Super X 55-inch TV will be like $600 or so. It's running off Android TV software. Looks pretty nice. I should be having a review for that soon, so stay tuned. But they were able to show how you easily push content from the smartphone to the TV, not just necessarily casting, but the fact that you have that Layer TV hub in there that you can actually push content. And then from the push content, he was like, yeah, my kids can change the channel and I can still watch the same content without any breaks on my smartphone. Stuff like that. So it was nice to see, and hopefully they can just maintain that strategy moving forward in the next couple of years, and we'll see some growth from them. Unless we have some questions, that's pretty much it.
I'm going back through the
that was like,
we started talking about the Le Pro, and we've got quite a bit of conversation happening. So from like iMic Tech, you guys don't think these premium mid-rangers, sorry, iMic Tech, you just say mid-rangers, man. I know we've got to do the ego stroking or the virtue signaling, the upper spec premium excellent low price mid-ranger, the more adjectives you throw on it, the more difficult this conversation gets. So I'm going by price, and that's where I'm going to stay, and that's going to piss off a lot of people. But is it in the middle of what you would pay for a smartphone? It's in the mid-range, and consumers are going to look at it that way. It's a $400 phone. It must not be as good as an $800 phone. We need to help people change that conversation, but that's still how the market's going to react to this. And I think it's one of the main reasons the Pixel is as expensive as it is.
Yeah, but, and also again, but that too is tied to name recognition. LeEco is not going to come to America and make that phone $600. I mean, It makes no sense. Who are they? Right. That's the first thing. So Google can, because it's Google. Yeah.
So, but iMic Tech's question is, because of this pressure, do you think other players, like he mentioned Samsung and Apple, but I'd also throw in HTC and LG into this. Do you think that these companies will need to start adjusting their pricing moving down to start courting potential customers if these mid-rangers start taking off?
I think LG and HTC.
I think it'll be a big thing next year, kind of across the board, for all of them to release flagship phones under a certain price point. With more premium hardware with it. I think that's something that they're all going to have to aim for, because I think we've reached a peak of how expensive phones are, especially when we're getting these things into the thousands of dollars now for just like a high storage Note 7 or a high storage iPhone 7 and 7 Plus. So I think it's at a point now where there's going to be a little bit of this race, maybe not to the bottom, but to get things down to a point in which people can buy high-end smartphones and it's at a good price that still competes with some of these mid-tier phones out there that are offering a lot more premium specs. Right now, the big difference between a lot of these phones is just the display resolution. That's something that will probably change next year, where we'll probably see a ton of these mid-range phones come with QHD displays, maybe from 2 or 3 years ago, but they'll be on there and they'll be priced at that $400 $300 price point, and it's going to be hard to justify that against to justify a consumer to not buy that versus the Samsungs, Apples, LGs, and the HTCs of the world that are making much more expensive phones.
See, I think it all depends on Samsung. The reason why I say that is that Apple has till September next year to make any kind of price adjustment, and knowing them, it will be minimal, not as aggressive. It might be $50 slightly cheaper than the last iPhone or something like that.
And you know what? I disagree. I think Apple will probably, if Apple makes a significant form factor change to the next iPhone, it'll probably be more expensive. Yeah, I think they'll price up.
Yeah, but I think on the other side, Samsung is the one, in the sense that, the S8 is coming out first half of the year, and depends on how they want to place it. Is maybe some of that reduced price also a way of saying we're sorry, for the debacle we had last year, or maybe also they're going, okay, look, we might have to start looking at doing more creative pricing structure, and even maybe changing some of the storage management so that we can still make more money on the higher price storage and take a few things out. But LG and HTC will have to follow suit. They cannot be $600 devices. They'll have to be at least 5 something. They may not go down to 400, but they will start skewing those prices to that lovely in-between area of saying,
right. Well, hey. And it all comes down to what they use to justify the price premium. If LG doubles down on modular phones, you do need to pay for that system. I mean, that's what the bummer of the G5 is you do need to pay for that extra machining, engineering, all the extra contacts and the software development that goes into it. It's just, you probably won't ever get to use that modularity or the V20, which has kind of become my sort of fallback daily driver phone. I after having used it, they need some software polish on the V20, but I totally appreciate why this is a premium priced phone. I totally understand why this is an expensive
just
device.
The quad DAC alone, I would give it that. But that's all I use.
Oh yeah. Well, but my V20 has taken some gnarly drops, and it's coming back okay. I have it in a case now just because I can't hold on to the V20 quite as well as I could the V10.
Yeah, you're definitely right on that.
So I did have to go. I did eventually just stop, and I went to a case. But even that, with the drops that it has sustained without the case, I'm very impressed with the build quality, and in a way that I would never try to subject a Pixel to the same kind of abuse. And it's still the only camera that I've been able to use on a phone which near seamlessly blends into my workflow. So my reviews have been peppered with V20 footage, and it looks right in line with what I can capture from my mirrorless camera. Wow. So those kinds of things have been huge benefits. So were I buying a phone, that's a phone that I would be able to handily justify the price increase on. For the Galaxy S8, if Samsung plays too conservative, because it sounds like they're probably not going to try and do 4K display, that they're not going to try and push the envelope too far because of the Note 7 issues, that might be a perfect time for Samsung to reevaluate pricing. But I think instead they'll probably toe the line. They'll probably stay the course on keeping a premium branding, so as to not lose that mind share. They need to kind of rebuild it, but they don't want to lose or be considered some sort of second tier manufacturer against Apple.
But how about this then? Someone like Samsung, who has many divisions, many products, and many things you can add, like an SD card. What if Samsung decides that the next step for keeping that suggested price is adding an SD card with it, even if it's a minimum amount, to just justify that price? To basically say, hey, it's still going to be 600. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm just throwing that out. I'm not saying no necessarily SD card, but something, now making it more of a added value, because even to a certain degree they pushed it this year through third-party carriers. Sam picked up his Note 7 and got a no, he didn't. He got a 256 SD card. You can either pick an SD card or the Gear Fit. It was there this year with the Note 7. You can buy it from carriers. So I don't see them not doing that again next year with the S8.
Possibly.
Okay, I guess I'm right then. All right. I'm just saying that since they've already kind of started it, it might be something they will continue. Down the line, who knows with Samsung. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, guys. Anything else you guys want to throw in, or we can finish at 1 o'clock on the dot?
Well, just real quick, as we're sort of looking through these last sort of chat comments, I had something here. Man, I hate having to scroll back through the chat. It's super rough.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
So from Haniko Martin, what didn't sell him on the LePro 3 is he had a Lemax 2 and he didn't. He watched the Lemax 2 reviews and he was worried about build quality issues. That's absolutely an applicable concern when we're talking about phones that are being sold on super low margin.
I can tell you this one doesn't feel that way.
No, it doesn't feel that way. Well, speaking of the build quality or hardware builds, and you might be concerned about that. Let's get into Google and that damn lens flare and the camera issue with their hardware. And I'm sorry, DxO Mark, you're a suspect from going forward. How the hell do you give that phone that rating, but it completely ignore that flaw? I cannot do that.
When they specifically talk about lens quality in their reviews, that I find to be particularly troublesome.
That automatically puts you a suspect for anything going forward at that point. You can't just bypass and say you never saw it.
Because you thought LG lens flare was bad. This has J.J. Abrams style lens flare. This has
It's worked out once. It's worked out once for me in a photo.
Color fringing, it's got the ring
lucky
flare.
Not to have lens flare at all.
You don't go outside.
It's in high contrast situations, and it's also in situations where you can even get it to pop up in daylight if you've got some bright sun going, and that is very annoying. It's very annoying, especially once you see it, because you can't unsee when those halo flares pop up.
That and apparently the lovely crop that goes over your video because your viewfinder is not accurate.
Drives me nuts.
That. And it's just like, you just ignored this, and you guys are the camera guys. And you give them an 89 of this mark when basic cameras that HTC puts out on the 1M9, which we all call is crappy, but at least it gets the shot right.
Right.
Come on. Like,
I wanted to just point to your point with the LG V20. I'm not liking the camera. I can't get it to do. I can't get it to do anything I want it to do. It's not reproducing like the V10 for me. And
I'm getting that same feeling with it too.
Which is lucky I'm not doing a review on it, because I literally would have hammered. I mean, like, it's a good camera, but like, for some reason, it feels like it's a step down. And
I agree with you on that. There's just been, I felt like since I haven't gotten that same awesome photo feel like I got with, I believe, well, I forgot, was it the G3 or the G4? The one I got that sunflower that I was just walking by and it just went bam and got the shot. And then we were literally walking to an event and I got it without stopping. I have yet to be able to reproduce that on cameras from some LG kind of since then. And it's been seemingly like they've been on this downtrend, and I'm not sure why. Maybe since the G4 has been on this on this sort of downtrend, it seems.
Well, and that would make sense because G4 and V10 shared the same sensor. I think the main sensor in the G5 is the same. But the V20 does move us to a different.
The camera I'm loving right now is the Mate 9,
which I think is funny that you would say that, because the Mate 9, it's a very good camera and it's going to get a very good real camera review. But what I think is funny is opposite the P9, the Mate 9 is a lot more complicated to get a feel for, in my opinion, when you're sort of comparing all of the different shenanigans that they're going through for image processing. They do this really amazing thing, like when you zoom, the 20 megapixel megapixel camera is reinterpolating information and then painting in color data from the 12 megapixel color sensor. And then it scans the image to create a 12 megapixel image from the zoom. So doing some really crazy creative things on this camera, but to really go through everything that this phone can do and get a feel for what will it do when I push the shutter button in this situation versus when I'm in this mode using this setting and I push a shutter button in that situation has actually been kind of a challenge. There's a lot going on that phone. And I kind of feel like the V20 suffers from that a little too, where LG's auto image processing has always been, well, I mean, like it's always been a little on the mediocre side, right? But
probably best since the G3 is probably the best they had it, because in the 4 and afterwards, I don't even,
because they've been so focused on the manual modes. I think they've let their auto modes take a back seat. And in this market, we know you need to have like at least a good HDR mode, which the V20 improves, but it doesn't get you up to that tier of even like Samsung HDR, let alone a Pixel or an iPhone. And I don't like shooting HDR. I think I hate the look of most HDR shots, but you still have to acknowledge that a lot of people really do like HDR. So the Mate 9, I think, is going to be that real true for photography, that hobbyist, enthusiast. It's like you've got a Leica kind of built into your camera. I mean, not in terms of like sensor quality, but in terms of all of the settings, all of the presets, how it processes
the pro settings with it. I'm able to. The one thing I like about Pro settings is when you turn off the camera, turn it back on, it's still there, and I can take the shots that I want, and it's on point. But give me 1 second, I'll be right back. So guys, just keep talking.
Will do. So yeah, I think my dream combo right now is a Mate 9 for stills and a V20 for video. And that for me covers every shooting situation from a phone that I would want to cover, and still allows me to do some fun stuff and get my work done at the same time. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
I haven't really had a chance to use the Mate 9 yet, so I'm not sure on its camera. I haven't had a chance to get a Huawei with one of these dual Leica cameras sort of
gotcha.
To kind of really get sort of my thoughts on it. But all these cameras that have been coming out have been what we said years ago about where Windows phones really focused on the camera. It was only going to take so much for the cameras to improve that it would be irrelevant for anyone to buy the Windows phone cameras, even though they're technically better. These things will catch up and be just good enough to keep people within the Android or iOS ecosystem. But now that we've kind of reached that point, it's made me miss Nokia in the camera market.
Oh yeah,
in this space where they will push everyone further. Imagine if they got the opportunity to do a dual camera setup. Hell, they'd probably give us dual 41 pixel cameras. They would.
I don't know that we'll ever have a phone with binocular Oreo discs on the back of our phone.
We're talking about Nokia.
But but that's the type of engineering that I would expect them to pull off, and be able to do it well, which would challenge the rest of the industry. Their only problem was they were just on the wrong platform, because if they were on an Android or even iOS, they were able to develop cameras in that way, but maybe Android at best. I think we would have seen some really amazing things from them, and it would have really challenged Samsung, and really would have challenged many others out there to up the camera game just a little bit more, and not just sort of put out just good enough. Like Samsung definitely challenges on cameras. They're not in the mindset of just good enough, considering that they eliminated their camera, their point shoot camera division last year. I think they've taken that knowledge and have pushed it towards their mobile devices and have said, all right, we know where people are shooting cameras at. We know we're taking photos. We need to be the best at this. So we're going to focus our assets on that particular thing, which has been a good thing. And LG's obviously put their stake in there, but it seems like they've kind of pulled themselves off a little bit and haven't really put the same amount of focus in there that I would have liked to have seen. And it seems like I think we need that Nokia player to go in there. Huawei, it's cool. The Leica thing is a great thing for them to do. The problem is they're not the biggest name here in the United States to really push that challenge.
Well, I mean, I think against like consumers, very few of them are going to know like what Zeiss actually is. You know what I mean? So that camera partnership, that Nokia Zeiss partnership, I think you're right. Zeiss is probably going to be a bigger name than Leica for a lot of consumers. Yeah. But I think if you say, this is Leica and it's got Leica printed on the back of the sensor, someone's going to go, oh, that sounds fancy. And that's really all you need.
Well, I think Zeiss is more known because they were in nearly every point and shoot camera that Sony had put out. So and I think they were in Canons as well too, I believe. So it was something like Carl Zeiss was on the actual name of those.
Right.
This is before smartphone cameras became the thing that everybody uses their default camera. So I think, and I remember correctly, they were mostly on the Sony. It was the selling point again.
Theirs too.
It was the selling point against the Sony, against the Canon point and shoots. The Canons were the cheap, basic point and shoot cameras that were just good enough. I thought they were mostly crap, to be honest with you. But they were the ones that were the standard bearer for everyone on those. Considering that they were so much better in the professional side of things, they put these little pit putts of crap out there. This really didn't make a lot of sense to me. They did. And I would tell anyone that ever would listen to me on a Sony camera in a second, because they were better on that sort of mid-tier space. But I just want to see more of a challenge. I felt like we've kind of gotten this wave of iPhone is what it is, and it's always going to get touted as a good camera because they're cheap. And Samsung has basically everybody knows Samsung's camera is good, and they just keep doubling down on it. And LG put up a fight, and they're kind of like, and we can't sell the phone that the camera comes in anymore because nobody wants their phone. So right. It's just become this weird sort of space here, and I'd like to see it get challenged even further, because I think LG had a really good idea with this multimedia. The V10, I think, excited all of us, because it was like, oh man, they're really pushing this multimedia phone. These phones can make and create, and you would hope that, all right, they're going to do this, and if they can get some sales behind it, this is going to create other manufacturers to make these things, and then we might actually get the Pro line of smartphones out there meant for these sort of things. Yeah. And that just has not existed because, for whatever reason, we can't. I think LG kind of dropped the ball on something like that.
No, I think they did. I think LG had a good aspect, coming 2016 to really push it on two ends. If the G5 was not a modular phone and is the successor to the G4, because the G5 to me is like the G remix. That's how I think of it in my head. It's not a G4. They changed designs and they changed it completely. It wasn't that step where consumers like, oh, the G4 last year, here's the G5, and he had some of those pro features from the V10. I thought you were seeing consumers go, okay, my regular phone can do some of these awesome stuff. I think with the V line, LG needs to reassess how they want to push creative content and not just try and make some Zoe type thing or website here or there, whether it's partnering with specific people like Vimo, or even going to YouTube and say, how can we push this thing? And also,
you would think they would have did that. Like, the number one people to jump this thing onto would have been every YouTuber on planet Earth, and then literally.
And then doing the other aspect to Juan's point, they need to polish that software all the way through. They need to come in and have it feel. If it's a pro, it's a pro. That's what this device is. So you might as well make it feel like a pro device all the way through. Still easy accessibility, but feel like a pro device when you're using it, so that then we now know that there's a tier in LG that's completely different from even what's to what Samsung did. Samsung did a regular device and then the Note, and the Note started blending in, and LG is now doing a regular device and a pro camera, on a smartphone, which is two different things. So
it just boggles the mind, considering that even Samsung somewhat with their whole YouTube integration tried to do this just a little bit, but it was more on the live feature side of things. But what's never touted about this thing, and it's been going on since the Note 4, and I think Juan will share my frustration, it's the fact that it's still the only smartphone camera that I know of that has a 2K front-facing camera that records.
Yes, that's true.
And they don't even brag about that thing. I think it's the only one still. The Note on the Note. It started with the Note, but I think
Note 4. Started with Note 4.
Started with the
Note 4. It started with the Note 4, and so Samsung's the only one that I think is still doing that. What was strange was it the Huawei? That the Huawei listed, like, if you go in through like Ada 64, one of those like specs app so you can see what's really on the phone, that it's listed as a 3K front-facing shooter, but there's no setting in the camera to actually tap into that.
You mean the Mate 9?
Yeah, sorry, that's what I'm saying is the Mate 9. And that could just be a bug in what the camera's reporting, but I'm with you, Warren. Like, I'm surprised that no one else has done that, especially like say in HTC, where you also have an image stabilized front-facing shooter. Something like that, I think, could be a real benefit, especially for folks out there that are doing a lot of vlogging.
Yeah, I mean, you got all these YouTubers that love to vlog, they love to talk through the front-facing cameras, and if they can get something that's 2K or something like that, don't even need to know that it does it. It's just you automatically set it there, and then uploading, and they just realize that, oh, my quality of this is so much better than what it used to be before. Just make sure to shut off beauty mode before you piss someone off. and they get all oversensitive.
I think we need to stop calling these beauty modes. I think we should start calling them Odo modes, because man, you look fake.
Or
you
triggered,
look plasticky.
Call it the triggered mode.
Very true, very true. No, I definitely agree. But yeah, it looks like we've run past extra 50 minutes.
More topics. It's been a quiet week.
Even though we had 3 topics on the docket here. So now we get to that point in the show where we, of course, we let you know what we have on the channel currently and what you can expect next week. So I'm going to start off. Warren complained last week he always gets the first go. So I'm going to start off with Mr. Juan Magnell from Pocket Now and Some Gadget Guy. What can we expect? What do you have and what can we expect?
Right on. So we just finished up our Pixel reviews. Jaime took the smaller Pixel. I took the Pixel XL, which is an interesting flip.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like bigger phones, but I did the smaller iPhone. He wanted to do the smaller Pixel, so we did a little flip on this generation. So those videos are now live. You can catch our full reviews on those, and like we spend some time on these. And it's one of the things I like about working at Pocket Now is that we're not usually in such a rush to get a review out the door. But speaking of that, because of all the timetable shenanigans, we're actually having to go back. We're circling back to a few other phones. I never really did finish a proper review on the LG V20, so that's going to be out next week. And I'm finally going to get to go back and wrap up our coverage on the Sony Xperia XZ. For those Sony fans out there, I know a lot of people on our channel have been complaining.
Where?
No, I'm serious. We've been getting like so it's a very small, but it's a very vocal group of people who every video we put out is like, where the fuck's the XZ review, man?
Oh, so they must all be from Australia. Just give them some Vegemite.
I swear it's either that or it's like 10 Sony PR reps that are just like spamming our channel or something like that. So we're going to be going back to cover that while I'm wrapping up our Mate 9 coverage. We're going to be jumping on the Bolt. And then, like I said, Jaime is going to be tackling the LeEco. So we're going to be circling back to wrap up the LeEco. And then we've got another phone that's under embargo, but we should have a first impressions video out on a phone that's coming soon on the channel next week also. And then just for me personally, I'm going to be guesting on the All About Android podcast on Tuesday. So if you've never tuned in to All About Android on the Twit network, definitely tune in on Tuesday because I'll be there. And so that'll be wicked awesome. And I'm going to have a lot of fun there. I really like those guys.
Awesome.
Okay, how about you, Mr. Warren Bowman?
Okay, up right now is this won't happen like last week. I actually remembered what I put up. It was the PS4 unboxing. There's another video coming up that's going to be publishing probably in the next 15 minutes talking about how to install that hard drive in there and bump it up or change it up or do whatever you want to do with it and such. And then next week, I'm safely going to say I have stuff and I'm going to leave it like that.
All right. On my end, we have a bunch of things. This week was strictly gaming. We have the Tesseragram Spectrum gaming keyboard, which I absolutely love. I called it my favorite gaming keyboard. Yes, I
today.
have a favorite. No. I've been using it for 3 months, and I've used different other keyboards in between. So I actually saved it for the right moment to express my love for the keyboard. Thank you.
I'm just gonna say pause.
The Lenovo Razr Edition gaming desktop as well as the monitor. We also have our PS4 Pro unboxing, as well as also a hard drive upgrade video showing you how to upgrade the hard drive. And then we have 2 gaming headsets. One from Astro, the A50, and you guys have been asking about that for a while, so that's up. And also another one you've been asking for is the SteelSeries Actus 5, which is really an awesome headset. And definitely check out that review. That's also up there. As for next week, starting from today, it's going to be jam-packed. So expect to see 2 videos a day. I do have the LG TV, the E6, E6. I want to say E6000.
G6,
right?
just say the G6 signal. Just say
No, the G6. No, that's like a $9,000 TV. They were not going to send that to me. It's the LG E6. That review is coming up today. We also have PS4 Pro review, PS4 Pro comparison to the Xbox One S. We'll also have a PC build coming up next week, and all the phones we talked about, which I have not reviewed, they will be coming up sometime next week. So stay tuned.
All kinds of phones.
All kinds of phones. And then also Alcatel Windows Phone too, which
nobody cares.
Take some really good photos.
Nobody cares.
I want to say this. So when I popped the phone, I turned it on, set it up. I went to the Windows store. It's revamped. I haven't used Windows Phone in a while. I mean, you have apps. I have not.
They have apps
in a while. I was like, "Whoa, do they have apps?" So I said, "Okay." I always complained there was no Bank of America. I went there was a Bank of America. I was like, "Oh, you trying to draw me back? You people are trying to draw me back." So I went and downloaded PayPal, which is the other account I use. And then I installed PayPal. Then I went to let me check my PayPal balance. And I hit the app and I opened it up and it said, "Sorry, please use the PayPal website because the app is no longer available for Windows Phone." I'm like, then why the hell did you let me know?
Yeah.
And I was reminded that, no, it's not happening there.
Yeah, I've always been surprised that they haven't made like a Windows app though. You just make it a universal app.
Because the Bank of America one is a Windows app. That's universal. So it's just one of those things. But yeah, you'll see that hopefully maybe next week or the week after. And then starting next week also, we'll be doing our gift guides for the holiday. So you see some of the gift guides start coming up at some point. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate you all joining and listening to us talk about very varied topics this week. You can check out all the channels. Check out Mr. Warren Bowman at bw1.com. That is his channel name right there. Also, his Twitter handle is bw1.com. And check out all his cool content. And also, Mr. Juan Bagnell from Pocket Now. Twitter handle is Some Gadget Guy. All the videos, you can check them out at Pocket Now. Of course, he handles all that good old audio stuff out there, as well as also, some good camera reviews too. He's the extensive camera guy. We tend to give shorter versions of what he gives.
I think most channels give very much shorter versions of.
More on Extend DxO, Mark.
Somebody's finding the shots. And of course, you can follow us. It's Bored at Work on YouTube, as well as our Twitter handle is Bored at Work. Thank you very much, guys, for joining. And if you have any more questions, do leave them in the comment section of this video. We'll come back and check it out. Otherwise, don't forget to like and share, subscribe to all the channels, and always enjoy your entertainment.
Bam.